This is the Mount Rainier case study by Laia, Simon, and Sean. To start off, what is Mount Rainier?
The 4,392-meter tall Mount Rainier in the Cascade Mountain Range is the most hazardous place you can go on a trip. The Red Mountain shadows over 3.3 million people in the Seattle-Tacoma metropolitan area. On top of that, if it erupts, it will also affect the Columbia River, and as a result, it will also impact up to some 500,000 residents of southwestern Washington and northwestern Oregon. It is rated as one of the world's most hazardous ongoing volcanoes, which has a possibility of erupting and producing debris without an eruption.
So, what is a volcano and how do they form or occur? Volcanoes are naturally occurring hazards. They are formed when molten rock from deep inside the earth, called magma, rises to the surface. Lava is formed when magma erupts. They form along plate boundaries. This is where crustal plates either move towards one another or away from each other. There are two main plate boundaries that can cause volcanoes to occur. The first one is the constructive margin. These plates separate from one another. When this happens, magma from the mantle rises to form a shield in the volcano, which creates or constructs new land. The second type is the deconstructive margin, a continental plate which collides with an oceanic plate. Because the oceanic plate is denser, it dips beneath the continental plate. Due to friction created by the movement between the plates will begin to melt as it lowers. This molten plate is turned into a hot liquid rock called magma. Through the continental plate, magma rises. If the liquid rock reaches the surface, it forms a volcano. These are the different volcano parts. At the very bottom, we can see the magma chamber. This is where the molten rock is stored. Then there's the main vent. This is the pathway that magma takes to rise to the surface of the earth. There's also the secondary vents. Some lava may escape via the volcano side, especially if the main vent is blocked. Then there's the crater. This can be found at the summit of the volcano. It's where the magma erupts from. Now I'll be focusing on some short-term and long-term impacts of a volcanic eruption. Some of the short-term impacts include the social impacts, such as lava will cause destructive fires which will burn down houses, and people may lose their lives during this eruption. Some of the environmental impacts include ecosystems are destroyed and vegetation as well as animal lives are impacted greatly. Rivers are polluted and people around would not be able to continue due to this. Some of the economic impacts include a lot of money will be used to rebuild everything, as well as people will be losing a large amount of stuff due to the burning and fires. The long-term impacts are society will have to rebuild their homes, and following an volcano, famine, fires, and earthquakes can occur, which leads to losing lives. Some of the long-term environmental impacts include volcanoes release large amounts of ash into the atmosphere. Releasing gases and dust particles into the atmosphere will have an impact on the climate. The economic impacts are that houses, as mentioned before, houses and buildings may be costly to replace, and depending on how wealthy the community is, it could have a huge damage on people's economy. Now we will be focusing on the location of escape routes, safety protocols, and future steps of Mount Rainier.
Okay, so for safety, USGS, Pierce County Department of Emergency Management and Washington State Emergency Management set up a Laia alert. It is a system which detects ground vibration of Laia. When they detect Laia, the emergency management will contact the cities and towns, and in schools they fully educate their students to make sure that what action they should take when the alert goes on. The experiences around the world about the Laia in Mount Rainier is then they said the only safety is climbing to a highest ground level of the valley floor in summer or rainfall. The alert for the debris flow of ground shaking. People should move out of the area as soon as possible before the lava comes closer. But in most cases, there will be time to warn people and they can safely get out of that area.
This map shows the simple geography of the mountain Rainier volcano, Washington, PA indicate thousands of years before present.
As you can see on this map, there were many places where the mud flows caused by the eruption affected communities. The darker gray parts of the map are where the mud affected, where communities are located. Kent was affected by lava floating. The starting point of Western Flora River and connecting rivers and land will be almost covered by lava. The Kenya River and Ashford might have a higher chance of getting a contaminated water and decreased water resources due to the mud flow.
In the worst case, volcanic mudslides will prompt 75,000 resistance to leave. Time is also a major factor. When a volcano erupts at night, it will cause the evacuation to be very slow. Evacuations also need to be evaluated as soon as possible, with the wounded take priority. Also, staff needs to set aside time for themselves to leave. Before the volcano erupts, there may be many small earthquakes searching on a volcano for several days or even longer. At the same time, volcanoes will have subtle deformations and increase in temperature and gas. Detecting this nature produce can allow communities to increase their level of alertness and take a basic protection to resist danger.
The end. Thank you so much for listening. Here's our works cited.